Right.
All set? Making sure you're good.
I'm just wondering if the mic's picking up.
The mic's working, yeah.
Remember, it was kind of glitchy last week.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, there's a lag. Hello?
Still in the waiting room.
See how laggy this is?
Which-
Only on Zoom.
Yeah, consider like government.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some lag to it, huh?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Works now.
There we go. All right, there you go.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
All right. All right, good evening, everybody. We'll call this public hearing to order for the town of Buckfield to discuss the warrant for November 7th, 2023. And everybody has a copy of the warrant. There's some up there, yeah. Usually the best way to go through this is just article by article and see if anybody has any questions. Article 1, to elect a moderator to reside at said meeting. Any discussion on that? Nah. That one's usually not very controversial. All right. Article 2, to elect one selectman to fill a vacant 3-year term beginning November 8th and ending June 20th, 2024. Any questions? What's that?
30th.
Oh, I'm sorry. June 30th, 2024. Yep. Nothing on that one. All right. Online, good. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $40,000 from unappropriated surplus for the summer roads operating expenses to pay for road repairs for fiscal year 2023-2024. And then there's an example here, the Drew Brook Culvert Replacement Project went over budget by roughly $35,000. As a result, the all roads budget line has been depleted. This article would allow Public Works to continue to repair roads that have been damaged by washouts, as well as any other issues that arise this fiscal year. Any questions on that one? Yes, Martha?
I had a question. This is going into this year's, and I thought there was a rollover from last year because this project has been a long project. Did we have money that got rolled over?
I don't know.
We used all of that money?
Yes, yeah.
It's going to be called. There was no rollover from last year's budget. The project didn't start until this year. The grant money that we had gotten for the project back in 2020, I think, or 2021, was for 120,000, and the town share was going to be 10. But with everything that's happened over the last 3 years, the project didn't start until into this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So nothing had been ordered, nothing had been started, so there was no carryover from last year's budget that rolled over, that lapsed the fund balance, which is what we're now trying to essentially roll over through this vote. It wasn't quite as much that rolled or that fell to fund balance. I think it was in the ballpark of right around $30,000, but it was close.
And so is this 35,000 just to finish off? What are we finishing off?
So
What's the left that we need to do before June of next year?
cold patch, rip wrap, gravel, anytime, any of these culverts that we have to replace, which is gonna happen in the spring. The pre-work to the Bear Pond project stuff, like right now, so as we go and we need material prior to the paving, all that stuff comes out of all roads. And right now we're over budget because of this $35,000. So there's,
I hear you, just one more, that's it.
Okay.
Flood off Paris Hill Road. They went and did a whole bunch of culverts and everything that were all the way up that road. Was that? On the schedule to be done? Was that like so many years that they end up doing that? Because where I live, where it was done. Really didn't need to be done. That wasn't where it washed out way up by Cooper's, where the apple orchards. So just a question.
I'm not positive, do you know that was
the
on?
ditch work is all part of our infrastructure planning, which was part of the reason why we contracted out the mowing so that they could focus on that. It started up at Chris Hayward's. We've lost the shoulder of that road 3 or 4 times this year due to the rain. Chris Hayward's culvert was rotted out and it was backing everything up. So as he started that project going from Chris Hayward's down, he discovered that
Oh, yeah, mine was fine getting replaced.
Yeah.
the bottoms of almost all. So they need to be replaced. The culverts themselves, we ordered last year, so fortunately that came out of last year's budget, but the actual material that went into it, because there was riprap, and we've seen riprap over there, that was all added cost that comes out of all roads. But yes, it's all part of the public works planning on ditching certain roads where we're having issues like that. You're talking about over by the apple orchard, that section.
Yeah, that was just before the apple orchard, that
Yeah,
Buckfield, I think they call it, that's what had really washed out a little bit up by Chris.
which we had to cold patch that and usually it's stuff. But that project along with the losing the shoulder of that top of, was it Pearson Hill? Is that what they call it? Just above you on Paris Hill? Yeah. We've lost that shoulder numerous times, so it had to be done.
Yes, Sandra?
I may not use the appropriate words here, so please correct me. But it sounds to me as though at least 75% of this $40,000 was raised and appropriated in the past, not used, and that money fell to fund balance. So we're just looking to use money that was already planned.
No, so the money,
Okay.
the money that lapsed to fund balance from Public Works was from Public Works. So it could have been from all the various lines, you told them all up. What fell was what was remaining in the budget.
Okay. How
Um,
much was,
I'd have to go look at.
is that the around $30,000?
Roughly
figure?
29,000, I believe.
Okay,
I don't know the complete, it's in my office. I don't have it in front of me right this second. But that came out of the complete overall public works budget, which last year, 22-23, when that was voted on. Everything was lumped up into public works, so it was summer roads, winter roads, public works complex. There's one other one. Cemeteries, I think, were all rolled up into public works.
but just for people to know that this isn't looking for new tax money
Right,
from citizens.
correct.
This is the majority of it being money that was raised and appropriated for public works,
Right.
which then fell to fund balance. So the public works money is going back to public works.
Correct, and I mean, overall. I'm gonna go grab that, because Vivian asked the question, now it's gonna be right.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to, we need to pay for the things that the town already voted to do. And agreed to do, but because it was 3 years ago. The cost was higher. To do it this year than it was 3 years ago. When it was planned.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but that's how I'm understanding this.
So that's what we're trying to figure out, so what you placed on the bottom here. This Drew Brook culvert replacement project. Had a grant money associated with it. So the question I'm looking for is, did that grant money fall into that balance or, so. It
Right.
seems like some of grant money, some of what we've already appropriated for taxes, trying to figure out how much money,
Yeah, what went where?
what
Yeah.
went there.
Yeah,
This one says summer road, not winter road.
Sorry, I get way too many binders. Alright, so. I'll just go line by line since it's sitting here in front of me. Just gonna go over the entire town. General government had 49,000. Just over 49,000 lapsed to fund balance. Public safety had 20,000, recreation had 9,924. Community had 11,214, public works had 29,000, debt service had $60.35, and 12,000 the emergency contingency lapsed to fund balance.
And when you say public works, are you saying public works complex, public works summer roads, public works?
That's not how we voted on the budget last year. Last year, we voted public works as one, because I changed it back this year when I recommended it to the select board, because a lot of people took issue with how we voted on the budget in 22-23. So when we voted on public works, we voted on one total number for winter roads, summer roads, why am I drawing a blank? Public works complex and public works. So whatever was left out of those four accounts lapsed the fund balance for public works. That makes sense?
Yep. Does.
This year's a different story because we voted on summer roads, winter roads, public works complex, public works, like we.
So. I
yes, go ahead, Ben.
gotta make sure.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
you're fine.
I don't want it, like I'm just talking to Karen. So in 2022, 2023. 29,000 lapsed to public works, general public works. Is that correct?
Lapsed the fund balance, yeah,
Yep,
for public works, yes.
but from the undesignated fund balance on Article 8. The town accrued 25,000 to use for the Public Works Department to cover the cost of paving.
Yeah, and that's part of this $29,000 that lapsed.
Right, so 29 minus 25 leaves 4.
Right, but what was approved with that approval plus the 4, because once we approved that going into the budget, that became another $25,000 of public works. So what was left at the end of the year was the $25,000 plus the $4,275.13.
Okay, and then the second warrant article, just so I'm clear. Was the public work, we put $20,000 into the public works reserve. Did that come out of the money you're talking?
Yes, it did.
So then what is the final balance of what?
No, it didn't come out of this amount. The $20,000 was put aside. That's been deducted. The $29,275.13 is what was left out of all the public works, plus the $25,000 that was approved from undesignated surplus last year, because it ended up not being used.
Plus the 20,
No, the 20's already been put aside and it already came out of the budget based on what was approved.
But not, okay, so it just, the 20 into the reserves was just approved through the budget, it wasn't out of undesignated fund,
Correct.
that's where, okay.
Or no, it was a undesignated fund. But that's separate. That 20 that was approved went into reserve. That has nothing to do with the public works budget.
I know it went into reserves. I have to formulate the question differently then. Based on what you said, Sandra, I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that there's 29,000, but we're asking, and that apparently was from the previous year.
Yes.
We put 25 in through the budget process. There's 29 in there right now, but you're asking for 30,
40?
40 rather, sorry, 40. Yes, 40. I see it. It's right there. So why? Then the reason why I'm asking this question is because in this year's budget, which we're in,
Mhm.
I thought you had said when this budget was formulated, the current budget that we're in, when we were doing that budget process, I thought you said there's leftover money from last year. We're gonna add it to this year's paving project for a total of 500 and something thousand, 515,000.
I don't
I
know.
recall, yeah.
We had
I just go back and look.
paving that was approved approved, you signed the contracts on, was two separate projects.
Yeah.
Last year's budget paid for last year's paving project.
Mhm.
This year's approved budget paid for this year's paving project, which hasn't been completed yet. All roads is separate from the paving, so I don't understand.
Okay. So just like you say in your town manager's report, like the paving on Steeler. I'm just using your words so I get the words right, not the like. The paving is not expected to be completed until next spring. So the money for that East Buckfield Road, it says it's complete, but Bear Pond Road paving will not happen until spring.
Correct, it was a 2-year project split over 2 budgets.
So the money for this year on that project will not carry over, or you need to put, will that be in the new budget?
It was 2 separate contracts. Last year's paving, 22-23, was paid for out of last year's budget. The
Okay,
second contract was contingent on passing this year's budget, which was $370,000, which is in the paving line. That was approved, that's a separate contract, and it's currently in that account for that project when it's completed.
and we're not over on that account.
No,
We'll have enough money, even though so many more months are gonna go by before that paving before that paving project is complete.
so they're doing the majority of the work now, it'll be done before winter, and then they'll finish the base coat in the spring.
And we'll have them, we won't have to put any money in the 23, 24. Am I saying that right? 24, 25.
Let's say 24, maybe.
Next year's budget, when you're about to work on for next year, won't need any money for this road.
Not for that project, we'll need money for whatever the future paving projects are that the road committee and the road commissioner come up with. But no, the contract for Bear Pond Road is 300, it came in under what the paving budget is, which allowed us a buffer because there is asphalt escalation, is that what it's called, Martha?
Yes.
Built into that contract, so if it goes up, it could fluctuate a little bit, but from what I saw with East Buckfield Road, if it does fluctuate, it's not gonna be, it won't go over budget here.
Okay, so here's another way to formulate the question that I have. I see plainly that it says we wiped out the all roads. 35,000.
And we're $2,000 in the hole. So if nobody went over budget on their contracts. Where did $35,000 go? Because in the budget itself, or you know, whatever you're calling this is the expense revenue summary report, the so-called quarterly report.
Yes,
I don't know what to call it. There's lines in each specific area for public works, for culverts and stuff like that. So could you help me understand where we spent?
125, 387, 506, 645. That's the account number for all roads. That's riprap, that's cold patch, that's anywhere, anything that has to go into that. That also included concrete work on the bridge.
Which bridge?
Sorry, the culvert that we had to put in on Drew Brook. That's literally what's caused this whole thing. Our entire approved budget for all roads was $35,000.
Yes, I'm
We
looking
went
at it.
budget on Drew Brook by $35,000. Material, it was
So is it a
concrete.
contract? That's what I'm trying to figure out is. We sent that out to Dick, correct?
No, we installed it ourselves. Because it would have cost $325,000 to have another vendor do it.
Okay, so we installed it and we must have. Either the prices went up or we underestimated.
Concrete. When we first got the proposal back in, I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2021, when we got the grant, concrete blocks and the components of the actual, I call it a bridge, it's a bridge. It's a box culvert.
Yeah,
We're supposed to be $39,000. We waited 2 years to do it. And that skyrocketed to 81,000.
okay.
And then other materials or whatever.
So because we, so because we did not contract it out. We can't hold the money. If it doesn't get spent, it has to drop.
Right,
So what they're asking for now is the money, basically the money that drops. Is to pull it back into here. Into this budget. Yeah,
Barring we have a great. Spring and we don't have massive washouts and we don't have to replace a bunch of. Well, culverts would come out of culverts, but we don't have to we don't need the riprap and the material that would go into it. If we don't spend that money, it would again lapse the fund balance.
okay, so can I ask another question?
Yeah,
Just for future? Because I tried to answer these questions myself beforehand, and when you read through the vendor detail report that comes with the. Quarterly report.
The report started to true.
Right, that number that you read off. Can we read it again? That, it's in your black notebook, or. The number for the Drew Brook project, is that what,
The $35,000 that we went over budget,
yeah,
that's in this year's budget. You're looking at a report from last year. That was last fiscal year.
okay, so it says that this report was generated on July 26, 2023.
Yeah, what does the month say at the top?
It says all months, all vendors
So that's all of last year.
through,
Which does not include the final invoices that were paid in this fiscal year, which were actually part of last year's budget, which is why I have a separate spreadsheet. Which was part of that report, I don't know if you have it, which shows everything else that is showing up on this year's reports, it's actually part of last year's budget. Before you leave tonight, I'll give you a copy, because it was part of that report.
okay. So, thank you,
You're welcome.
square my confusion then.
And I'm getting ready to finish the first quarter of this year, which would have
Well,
more up-to-date information.
honestly, I kind of got really stuck because. It says like we're $10,000 in the hole on public works equipment and,
You're-
you know, and I'm just like.
I just got confused.
Yeah. So
So I better understand it, but having I'm just gonna say this. This is why I personally asked that town generate quarterly financial reports on schedule, on time throughout the year. As best we can.
I've got 6, 7 more days before it's due to the budget committee. And I've already got it started. With that said. For those that might be confused by, oh, this line says we're negative. And I think most of you understand, we don't vote on line item budgets. So if you see one line that's $10,000 overdrawn, but you see another one that's $13,000 still got a balance. There's that freedom to be able to move it within the budget in order to meet, as long as you don't go over that big number, so.
In the place that I saw that in, which is why I was trying to just think, is this? Because that was in the winter roads budget, which I know we can overdraw. And then we wouldn't maybe need 35 or 40, it's 40, sorry, 40. Warrant article, but. I get it now, thank you, I mean,
Are you looking at the winter roads or the all roads that we're looking at is in summer roads?
yes, but that 10 that I was looking at was in says $10,795.20, 183% spent from the winter roads public works equipment line. We budgeted 13, we spent 23,795, and we are 10 grand, almost 11 grand in the hole. Is that not happening right now as a speaker? Is this an old doc?
You're looking at last year's report.
Okay, that's what.
So we could have been
So,
overdrawn on public works complex. But if the money was in public works or in summer roads or winter roads, as long as the grand total of those combined accounts, which we voted on the combined budget, didn't go over, we were
because
within
this
budget.
is last year's document,
Correct.
but the year we're currently in is split into specific sub-accounts, correct?
In the system, it is for budgeting purposes, but we vote, yes, so summer roads is summer roads, but say we need more culverts than we need.
Yeah.
You can move it between the lines,
Yes,
as
I
long as
agree.
you don't.
I'm
do
not
that sub-account.
disagreeing.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it is broke up this year, the way we voted on it was to break it back up into individual sections.
So,
Yes, Sandra?
The word that I'm uncomfortable with is in the hole, because it's implying that we've overspent. But I think, so for anyone listening,
oh,
might think
Yeah, we're not,
we're in the hole, and we're not, because like, if you think of like your household budget, if you want to spend more money on groceries this week, so you don't go to the movies, you're not in the hole, you rearrange the money that you're allowed to rearrange in that area. So if one area of public works needs a little more. So that's the only
Yeah.
piece for me, anybody
No,
listening that keeps
yeah.
hearing the words, we're in the hole,
We're not.
we are very in the budget.
right, yep, I totally agree with you. For the general public, you're absolutely right. We're not in the hole because of the way the line items go. And I think part of my issue that Cameron has just pointed out is I don't have a recent document to work with, so I'm looking at last year's document. And last year, it was all combined. This year, it's not combined, so there is no way for the general public to follow it without coming here and asking questions, unfortunately.
which is the exact reason why this warrant article is here, because rather than come in where it is broken up, we have to be more cognizant of
Yeah.
where that money is being spent, because summer roads is a lot more restrictive than
Yeah.
4 accounts combined into one.
Yeah, and the laws are different for each account.
You know, we could have spent less money on salt and made up for that in the all roads, but we can't do that this year because of the way we voted on it.
Good. Go ahead. Are we going after any emergency money since it was such a horrible spring? Is there money available that we can dip into? Because it was a state of emergency to maybe get back some of this money that we spent on all the washed out roads.
Did they end up declaring a state of
They
emergency
did
and
for
all that?
Oxford County.
They did,
Uh,
so yeah, we should be able to get something.
Well,
Deadline, that's,
can you?
I don't know,
Is this town NIMS compliant 100%? Isn't that required for FEMA funding?
yeah,
what are we lacking in NIMS compliant?
I asked a question. I don't know the answer to it.
so
I know as of right now. No, by title, I'm the EMA. I have probably 40 hours worth of training that I have to do to become NIMS compliant for that. Again, they didn't ask for that title, but that's me, so I'm gonna do it, but I need to take the 40 hours to do the NIMS training.
and all of the staff have to have 100, 200, 700, I believe.
Yep,
Those are classes, I see,
Mhm.
incident command structure classes. They don't take that long, but it takes time, it's just, you have to,
Do they expire?
no,
no,
not
that's
yet,
fine, then.
Cause I have all of,
yeah, yeah.
oh, you are now the.
Did you just hear what she just said?
Well, make a.
Are you hear that right now?
EMA director,
So one of, had to do with vigilance and why it was such a bad deal, why we put it all together last year. It. Winter roads is allowed to go over, but. I don't want you to think that it's a free for. It still has to be requested back to the town, any spending money that went over.
Mhm.
It's to make sure that we stick with our regular public works budget, and the only thing that should ever go over would be winter roads, because that's something we have no control over.
Mm.
We have to budget correctly, but then if it does go, we still have to come back to the town and ask permission. Because we expended funds that were not allocated. Right, so it's not, I don't want people to think it's free for all, so when we're in the negative, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
We're supposed to be very conscious of how much we're spending.
And
It's not our job.
and
again,
again, to
we are not
clarify what you said,
negative.
we are not in the negative on any account. Just on a sub account, and I wanna make sure that. We want to make sure that Public Works can still fix things as they come up in the
If they're
spring.
needed, if
Right.
new things break,
It's got 8 more months.
Yeah, and if there's not enough money, at some point when that account gets to the limit, that's it. If you've got a gigantic hole in the middle of. One of our roads, it's. The option is to fix it and then come back and ask for it after the fact, but I'd rather get permission first than. Do it that way, because that's. I mean. You don't overdraft your bank account and then go back to the bank and say, can I get a loan to fill that back in? And again, this is not. This is money that's already been taxed and is lapsed back to fund balance. It's just, it can't be expended without permission from the voter. So it's not increasing anybody's taxes, it's just asking for permission to use it.
That would help, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Nothing?
If everyone wants to see sample ballots right here.
No, it's not.
These just said sample on it.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Voting day, November 7th, starting at 8 AM till 8 PM. And it's not just voting on town stuff, it's,
There's 7 articles for the state, or 7 referendum items on the state, and they're very confusing, so. Read up on them before you get there.
Yeah.
all right. We have to adjourn.
Are you ending the
Yeah,
public hearing?
yes, we're ending the public hearing. Thank you.
That's for sure.
Good job, Bob.
Thanks.